I met my soon-to-be ex-wife when we were just 16, but our history went back to middle school. Our relationship at that time was strong, and we were the type of kids who avoided conflict. We dated for 8 years without any significant issues or signs of potential affairs. We never took breaks, and we even attended the same university. After graduation, we ended up working in the same company but in different fields. We knew each other's schedules and often met for lunch whenever we had spare time. We got married in June 2008, and shortly after, my mother passed away in a car accident. I cut my honeymoon short to attend her funeral, and my soon-to-be ex-wife was incredibly supportive. She took care of everything while I grieved, from managing the house and bills to organizing therapy sessions and providing emotional support. That was the woman I saw as my wife. However, things changed. I struggled with depression and almost lost my career. With the support of my father and her, I managed to recover. I came out of it with a determination to be better for the sake of my loved ones. I worked 3 times harder to advance in my career, wanting to support a family that my father could spoil as a grandfather. During our attempts to start a family in 2012, she cheated on me. There were no indications, no drop in sex drive, no hidden text messages, not even a mention of new friends. I had no clues whatsoever. When our twins were born, I felt like I had everything I dreamed of: a loving wife, adorable children, and the chance for my father to spoil them. He passed away only 2 years ago, practically thanking me with tears for being his son. As time went on, cracks began to show in my soon-to-be ex-wife's narrative. In every argument since then, she would call the twins my twins, accuse me of flirting with coworkers, or grill me on what kind of women I preferred, even though she already knew. What seemed like small issues to me at the time were red flags that pointed to her having had an affair. Then quarantine hit, and we were both thankfully able to work from home, albeit with a hit to our salaries. My soon-to-be ex-wife mentioned that she had taken an ancestry test in the past, and I was hopeful that I could find distant relatives to connect with. I wanted to map out a complete family tree to show off to the twins, and even planned a scavenger hunt around it. Needless to say, when I pitched the idea to my soon-to-be ex-wife, she panicked. She told me that it was the stupidest idea she had ever heard and that I already had the family I wanted. "What if the relatives I found were dangerous or even criminals?" she said, grasping at straws to dissuade me from taking that test. I could feel this drop in my gut that wouldn't go away. Why would she be so against my finding family members, especially now that I have none left breathing? So I secretly had my twins and me take the test and took them for treats afterwards to buy their silence. Waiting for the results was hell on earth. My soon-to-be ex-wife seemed to catch my unease and tried to distract me with sex, meals, and date nights. I also had the stress of making sure my twins wouldn't mention the test to her, so I bought them a Nintendo Switch to preoccupy them. They had been begging for one, so I was hoping that would be enough. Once the results came in last week, I saw I wasn't even considered a close match to them. The closest I found to their biological parents was my soon-to-be ex-wife and some name I didn't recognize. I nearly vomited right then and there. I had to get out of there. So I waited until my soon-to-be ex-wife left on a run, packed up, told my twins I was going on a work trip, and called a work colleague to help me find a place to stay. He was kind enough to let me stay with him until I was back on my feet. I took leave from work and spent nearly 2 days just crying and cursing my soon-to-be ex-wife. She would call and text nearly non-stop until I told her that I knew about the twins and muted her. Then I got angry. I had to find the other man and make him understand what he did to my family. He was extremely prevalent on social media, so I knew his face now, and I recognized a park outside his apartment window from a specific post. From what I could tell, he was single and had never been married. I waited in that park the next day and was lucky enough to catch him while he was on a jog. He looked so much like me, just with a longer face and thinner hair. I called his name and asked him if he knew my soon-to-be ex-wife. He seemed confused at first, but when I showed him a picture, he actually recognized her and told me he had met her during a work conference 8 years ago. I asked him if they slept together then, and he actually told me right then and there that they did. He seemed to understand where this was headed and asked me who I was. Not going to lie, there were numerous instances where I wanted to punch his lights out, but I had to keep my cool. I couldn't afford to get any spots on my record, and an assault charge would have put me out of a job. I sat down with the man who turned out to be the biological father of the twins. We swapped stories, and when he learned that the twins were likely his, he was shell-shocked. He got on his knees and begged me to give him a chance to get to know them, to be a father. It was a surreal moment, and I couldn't help but see the devastation in his eyes. I had never seen a man so distraught until I looked in the mirror after the confrontation with my soon-to-be ex-wife. At this point, I have no reason to distrust him. He's been more open than she has been. Nevertheless, I won't allow him to meet the twins without a professional to mediate. I had to call in to inform him of that, telling him it was to protect the mental health of the twins, to which he agreed. Now, I'm just waiting for the legal side of things to work out. The attorney I interviewed informed me that I needed some documents I had left back home, and I'm not looking forward to that. Returning home to gather documents proved to be a challenging ordeal. As advised, I had a police officer escort me, and I kept a voice recorder at the ready, which was legal in my area without the need for both parties' consent. Upon arriving about 5 days ago, her absence brought me some comfort, but what awaited insight ignited a different set of emotions. The twins were in the hallway crying and rushing to hug me urgently. It was unusual, and their explanation shattered my heart. They revealed that their mother had left, angry at them. She had been constantly crying and would scream at them when they asked about me. They believed I had run away and was never coming back. One of them pointed to the kitchen floor, indicating that their mom had shattered a glass there while shouting at them, and the shards had hurt them. As they shared their distressing experience, part of me wanted to flee with them, to protect them from whatever turmoil was happening. Yet, another part worried about how my soon-to-be ex-wife might twist the situation to make herself a victim. Although there were no visible signs of physical abuse, I feared what it could escalate to. I suspected heavy drinking given her family's history of alcoholism. I hadn't seen her drink since our engagement, but a possible relapse loomed. Time was ticking, and I had only a few minutes to collect my documents. I quickly explained to the twins that I had to rush back to work, expressed my love for them, and then contacted their mother. Her slurred voice confirmed she was already drunk at 3 in the afternoon. She began apologizing, acknowledging she was a horrible person without me, and that cheating on the perfect husband was a terrible mistake. I seized the opportunity to assert that until she could address her drinking problem, the twins should stay with me. It took some convincing, but she eventually agreed that, for now, the twins were better off under my care. The situation was a delicate dance between concern for my children's well-being and navigating the complexities of my soon-to-be ex-wife's struggles. The path ahead remained uncertain, but I was determined to prioritize the twins' safety and work towards a resolution. The next day, I returned to my old home with the friend who housed me. Somehow she made it back there yesterday and handed me the twins, telling me how much they missed me and pressuring me to give her a date for when I was coming back home. I could see through her attempt to use the twins to lure me back in. Little does she know, I've already found their father and initiated the divorce process. Now the twins are with me, and the other man, O.M., is unaware of it. After reading responses to my previous posts, people pointed out the strange and concerning nature of our meeting. I was too blinded by relief to notice at first. Now that I have, I delved into the National Sex Offender Registry, and thankfully, he wasn't there. I dug deeper into his social media, searching for anything that stood out. I found comments from 2 years ago mentioning his engagement, but no recent posts with a romantic partner. I contacted him, stressing the need for complete transparency between us. I explained that trust was crucial, not just for the twins, but also for any future partners he might have. I offered to reciprocate, but he refused, agreeing only if it was what I needed. Though I know polygraph results aren't always accurate, it was the only option I could think of at the time. We plan to take the test later this week, and if I can suggest questions, please let me know. On a personal note, my STD test came back clean, which is a small relief. Seeing the twins all the time is emotionally challenging. Hearing them call me dad feels like a stab in the chest, and hugging them makes me feel like a criminal. However, I'm dealing with it the best I can. To protect myself, I've started recording all our interactions so that my soon-to-be ex-wife can't accuse me of anything. I have plenty of recordings that she won't like getting out. Additionally, I've had a paternity test done, and it's official. I'm not their father. Moving out of my friend's place was a necessary step, and with the OM's assistance, I found a rental. It was challenging, but having a place of our own felt safer for the twins, and frankly, I was tired of sleeping on a couch. The polygraph session with the OM was insightful. He turned out to be who he claimed to be, which was a relief. Importantly, he had no prior knowledge of my soon-to-be ex-wife's marital status, and his desire to be in the twins' lives was genuine. His motivation wasn't as intense as I assumed. He simply wanted to be a dad, and none of his previous relationships had worked out. In a positive turn of events, I learned from my soon-to-be ex-wife's sister that she had checked into a rehab center and started the recovery process. While this might simplify the process of serving her divorce papers, a significant concern arose: the fact that the twins overheard the revelation that I'm not their biological father during their time with their mother. The twins' behavior had been noticeably strange since I took them with me. They clung to me more intensely than usual, asking worrying questions about adoption and whether I would run away again. Initially, I attributed it to the difficulty they faced during their time with their mother, and they seemed hesitant to talk about it. Their attempts to communicate were challenging. They would ask a question, run away once I answered, only to return and demand to sit on my lap while I worked or played with them. Attempting to discuss their feelings led to shutdowns, but the breaking point came when one of them came to me sobbing while I was asleep, seeking comfort through a hug. Sherry, given a false name for convenience, clung to me the most during this period, and it had been a concern even before this incident. She generally disliked physical contact, so her behavior was particularly unusual. When she finally managed to express herself, it became clear that, during my absence, their mother had resorted to heavy drinking at night and would be inexplicably absent. This revelation coincided with the time I had texted my soon-to-be ex-wife, but I knew the twins weren't biologically mine. According to Sherry, one night their mother was yelling, stating that I should have been able to love them as if they were mine and not run away. Returning and resuming a more typical routine likely made the twins question the truth of what they had heard. However, my altered behavior during their time with me only heightened their concerns. They noticed a decrease in my usual gestures of affection, fewer hugs, less lap-sitting, and piggyback rides. Despite my efforts, I couldn't engage in these activities as freely as before. Conversations with my therapist revealed that such struggles with paternity are common for men, and only time will tell how much I can adapt. The original plan of breaking the news slowly with professional guidance now seems impractical. I'm in damage control mode, with the twins having had their first in-person therapy session 3 days ago, preceded by 2 online sessions. Surprisingly, there hasn't been any mention of the revelation that I'm not their biological father. Our focus has primarily been on understanding what they saw and how it made them feel. The details are extensive and complex, making it challenging to summarize here. It's been a month since the initial discovery, and so much has unfolded in such a short span. Divorce papers have been prepared for a week, but a crucial decision remains whether I'll continue to be financially responsible for the twins, or if that responsibility will shift to the biological parents. Opting out of financial responsibility would require petitioning to be removed from the birth certificate, relinquishing any grounds to fight for custody. My soon-to-be ex-wife left the rehab center against advice, and I proceeded with serving her the divorce papers. In a heated conversation, I vented my frustration and resentment, making it clear that I was serious about the divorce. Her response included threatening messages, leading me to document all interactions and communicate solely through my attorney. The twins have been slowly recovering from the shocks and changes. While they haven't fully processed the revelation of their biological father, the therapist recommends patience and careful handling to avoid serious repercussions. Consequently, I've decided to postpone any meeting between the twins and the biological father. The biological father, OM, has been making efforts to repay me for the money spent on the twins' education, demonstrating understanding and responsibility. I'm documenting his payments, intending to use the funds for the twins' benefit. On a personal note, I've been doing better mentally. Engaging in creative activities like sketching and drawing has been a helpful distraction. I've also rekindled my love for gaming, finding solace in playing with the twins, even though the trauma from the situation persists. Decisions regarding custody are on hold until my therapist and I are confident in my emotional stability. Taking this time to prioritize mental well-being before making significant decisions seems like the right approach. The road ahead may be challenging, but I'm committed to healing and making well-informed choices.